Hey guys, it's your boy Mo. Listen, today I'm gonna do something a little bit different. But first and foremost, I hope everyone out there is being safe with their family and their loved ones, and they are remembering safe social distancing, washing your hands for 20 seconds or more, and wearing a mask when you go outside to protect yourself and other people around you. So, with that being said, listen, protect yourself at all times like you're in a fight, because this is the fight for your life and the life of those that you care about. So please, if I don't say anything that hits home, protect yourself and your loved ones. Now, today I'm going to do something a little bit different because we are on the on the eve of the draft. So I wanted to go back and talk a little bit about sports today because I got a phone call from a real good friend of mine. Uh, I'd consider him a brother, and you guys, some of you guys will recognize uh, his accomplishments, and that was O.J. Anderson, not O.J. Simpson, but O.J. Anderson. So New York Giants, St. Louis Cardinals, and he gave me a call yesterday, and we were just talking about Tom Brady and what my thoughts were on Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski hooking up so that Tampa Bay may be in en route to win a Super Bowl or championship, NFC championship, or the Super Bowl. And I told him yesterday, granted, you may have Tom Brady, you may have Rob Gronkowski, but Tom Brady is not the Tom Brady that everybody's trying to remember. Tom Brady's not the Tom Brady of 10 years ago, and Tom Brady's definitely not the Tom Brady of 5 years ago. The Tom Brady that everybody's seeing is an older, 43-year-old Tom Brady. And he is not the same guy that is as accurate as he once was. He's not the same guy that could move out of the way a little bit better than he can now. So when you take a guy that is 40, going on 44, and you're asking him to lead your team to the promised land, well, in my opinion, um, I don't think it's going to happen. Some people say he's the greatest of all time. He's the GOAT. I'm sorry, but I can't consider Tom Brady to be the GOAT because of the fact that if you are the GOAT, you are supposed to be that player that could have played in any era. And I just can't see it. I mean, Tom Brady is a good quarterback. Tom Brady is a one of the greats. But the GOAT, nah, you can't put that tag on his back because if you can tell me that he would have played in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, then I would say, yeah. But football was a different game back in those days. Quarterbacks were not protected and you couldn't touch them. It wasn't off limits to touch the quarterback, to breathe on the quarterback, to run past the quarterback and touch him with a pinky nail. Today's game is that game where you can't do anything. But back in those days, you could hit the quarterback. You could damn near decapitate the quarterback, and it was legal. Everybody, every man on that field was legal. He was fair game. So if you tell me that Tom Brady could have withstood the beatings that he would have taken back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, then, we can have something to talk about. But you can't be the GOAT just because you played in an era where the quarterback was protected to the point where you can't even breathe on the quarterback. You can't look at the quarterback the wrong way. If you scrape the back of the quarterback's helmet, that's a 15-yard personal penalty. The quarterback runs. Oh, he's protected. If he's going down, oh, he's protected. Well, I think about quarterbacks that could play in any era. Give me a Roger Staubach. Give me a Terry Bradshaw. Give me a Dan Marino. Hell, he wasn't fleet of foot, but he took punishment when he was out there on the field, and he played. He took the hits. He got up. Give me a Brett Favre. He could play in any era. He was rough, rugged, and he could play. Um, you know, Joe Theismann played in an era where, hey, if you want to look at something gruesome, go look at what Lawrence Taylor did to Joe Theismann. I don't think Tom Brady is that guy. Um, you know, there were some great quarterbacks. John Elway, Ron Jaworski played in an era where he took a pounding. Warren Moon played in an era where he took a pounding. Randall Cunningham played in an era where he took a pounding. So when you tell me that somebody is the greatest of all times, you have to tell me that there's a guy that can transcend and play in any era that the game has been played. So I just don't believe it. Not the greatest of all time in my book, but if you want to debate it, then debate it. Now, if you take a Tom Brady and throw him out there with Gronk, and you throw him out there with O.J. Howard, and I think it's O.J. Howard, the tight end. You take him out there and put him, on the playing field with those guys. You're still looking at a Tom Brady that is not as fast as Jameis Winston, doesn't have the escapability as Jameis Winston. So just because you're putting Tom Brady in the backfield and having him, be your general, your field general, doesn't necessarily mean that translates into wins. It means that you have an older quarterback that you think can take you home. But at the same time, is Tom Brady going to, overcome New Orleans? I don't think he's better than Drew Brees. Is he going to overcome San Francisco? I think Garoppolo's a pretty good quarterback. I think San Francisco's got a hell of a defense and a hell of an offense. I think Minnesota's still in the mix as far as teams that you have to worry about beating. Philadelphia, teams that you have to worry about beating. Seattle, team you have to worry about beating. So can Tom Brady take you to the national championship game? I don't think so. So if you really believe that this man is the GOAT, you have to convince me. Tell me why. I think that if you had taken a guy like Jameis Winston, throw him on the Patriots, throw him on a team where structure is the only thing that the coach believes in. Structure, strict discipline, and I think that Jameis Winston could thrive in that environment because he needs somebody that's going to sit him down, make him understand that, hey, you cannot continue to throw the ball into small windows when you have a big window wide open. You have to look off the pass that you want and look to the pass that is actually open and available. Jameis Winston is a great talent. Yes, he threw for over 30 interceptions for the year. He threw for unfortunately, this is what this kid did. But if you're going to tell me that here's a kid that threw for more than 5,000 yards, don't tell me that just because you put Tom Brady in the backfield that he's going to do the same thing, because he's not the same quarterback. He's not as agile. He's not as fleet of foot that can buy himself a little bit more time when he's in the pocket being chased. Tom Brady's being chased. Tom Brady's normally caught. So when you sit back and analyze what Tom Brady brings to Tampa Bay, he brings a name and he brings fans hope. But that hope doesn't translate into he's going to go out there and beat the top tier teams in his division and take them to the Super Bowl. I don't think he can do it. And, prove me wrong. But if you take a look at Tom Brady over the last 3 to 4 years, you tell me when Tom Brady has dominated a game and he was the Tom Brady of old. And don't tell me that, he didn't have the weapons. Guess what? Tom Brady has always had guys that play their role on the team because that is what Bill Belichick demands. He wants guys that know their role. If you are the drummer, I don't need you to play the bass. I just need you to sit back there and be the drummer. So these are the guys that Bill Belichick puts on the team. He puts guys that know their role and stay in it. He doesn't have guys that can't stay in character. He doesn't have guys like that. And if he does, he gets rid of them. So now you have a very disciplined New England team with very disciplined players that run their routes, that know their role, that do their blocking assignments, and they don't try to go outside of the box. Put Jameis Winston in an environment where he is drilled, and it's drilled into his head that you have to know your role and stay in it. And if you can do that, we will win. But if you get jumpy and start thinking outside the box and believing that you are the driving force that makes the team win, then okay, Jameis Winston, maybe he wouldn't be the right fit for that team. But I think if you put a kid like that in the environment, he can win. He can. Now, there are a lot of young guns out there in this league. And for Tom Brady to sit back and think that he can cheat Father Time, it doesn't happen. Tell me a quarterback, tell me a player that has cheated Father Time. Father Time allows you the time he's going to give you before he decides to chase you down. Now, we've had quarterbacks that have tried, great quarterbacks. Hell, John Elway couldn't avoid Father Time. Peyton Manning couldn't avoid Father Time. Brett Favre couldn't avoid Father Time. Warren Moon couldn't avoid Father Time. Steve McNair couldn't avoid Father Time. Bradshaw couldn't, outlast Father Time. Eli Manning could not outlast Father Time. So all these great quarterbacks that have played this game for 100 years, nobody has outrun Father Time. And I don't care what the position is, you are slower, you don't react as fast, and the bumps and bruises that you take on the field, they carry over longer, so your time of recovery is not the same. Now, me and OJ, we have a tendency to disagree on certain things, but like I told him, if I go back and name players that could play, hell, he could play in any era. He was a hell of a running back out of Miami. He could do kickoff returns. He could catch. He could take it out of the backfield. And when he was at the St. Louis Cardinals, hey, he didn't have the all-world talent around him, but just go back and look at his highlight tape. Just go back and look. And if you don't remember a guy that was 6'2", 6'3", probably 225 to 230, he could make a 5-yard run amazing. He could just, make a highlight reel of a 5-yard run. He was nimble. He was fast. He could run through you. So when you tell me a guy like that, hell, he could play in any era. Does he get the recognition that he's deserved? No. Personally, I think the guy's a Hall of Famer. If you look at his first 6 years in the league, and go look at Gale Sayers' first 6 years in the league, and go look at Terrell Davis's first 6 years in the league, you go look at those numbers and tell me if he's not a Hall of Famer. Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, Super Bowl MVP, over 10,000 yards rushing. If you don't think that these numbers add up to Hall of Fame, then something's wrong with you. Now, maybe he won't get in the Hall because he played 14 years in the league. Now, remember, when he came to the Giants, he wasn't the franchise player. Joe Morris was on that team. Rodney Hampton was on that team. So he had to play the backup role. But when they needed him most, go look and see what he did. He took them to the promised land. When they needed him most, look at the Super Bowl tape. He took them home. So when we sit back and we look at guys that may be overlooked, and we look at guys that we think are the greatest of all time, re-examine your thoughts. But re-examine your thoughts through looking at other eras and saying, could that guy play in this era? If the answer is yes, then guess what? He may be considered one of the greatest of all times. But when I look at the greatest, Muhammad Ali could have fought in any era. Sugar Ray Leonard could have fought in any era. Rocky Marciano could have fought in any era. Mike Tyson could have fought in any era. Jack Johnson could have fought in any era. Floyd Mayweather could have fought in any era. So when we think of the greatest, go look at your idols, go look at your favorites, and then you tell me, could they play in any era when the rules were not as tight as they are today? When you weren't allowed to touch people, when you weren't allowed to be physical, Michael Jordan could have played in any era. Can I say the same, that LeBron James would be as physical and domineering as he is today if he played back when you didn't come down the lane without getting mugged? The days when the bad boys, Anthony Mason, when these guys were just beating the hell out of you, Charles Oakley, you didn't come down the middle. If you did, you paid the price. You want to go across the bridge, you got to pay the toll. So go back and look. Now, I'm not saying that LeBron James is not a great player. He's one of the greatest players to play the game. But he's also playing in an era where you're not allowed to be as physical as when Jordan played, or back in the 60s and in the 70s, when these guys were just, super physical and the refs allowed you to play. I mean, it was a damn near brawl on the basketball court. So these guys that we claim to be the greatest or the GOAT, you know what? Just be fair when you say someone is the GOAT, and go back and look at different eras and let your eyes be the judge. Let your eyes tell you whether or not this guy would have been able to play in an era where the rules are nothing like they are today, and you had to have your head on a swivel at all times because somebody was coming to take it off. Hey, I'm going to end up and I'm going to say tonight, I think that this kid Joe Burrow, I think he's a hell of a quarterback. I'm a Clemson guy, and he definitely dismantled my Clemson team. But at the same time, he has a lot of weapons on that LSU squad that dismantled Clemson. And this kid played fantastic all year long. So I can't take anything away from him. The kid was on point. The kid was on target. The only thing that kind of worries me is that he flourished his senior year. So wherever he played for the prior, past 3 years, why didn't we see this kid? Is he a flash in the pan? I don't know. I hope not, because he's exciting and he's the kind of kid that you want on your team. He's the kind of kid that you want in your community. He's the kind of kid that you want as the face of a franchise. He's humble. He's thoughtful. And, he's a kid that has earned the trust of those around him. Is he worthy of the number one pick? I don't know. But I think he's a hell of a quarterback. If he goes to the Bengals, I think that might be a little bit too much weight to put on a kid's shoulders to be the savior of a franchise that just doesn't seem to get it right or can't seem to get right as far as picking players and putting a winning organization together. If he goes to a team where they have structure and they have the right atmosphere for him to develop and thrive in, I think he could be fantastic. Tua Vailoa. I think this kid is a super quarterback. I think that everybody's judging him by he's been hurt, but if we take a look at what he's done from the moment he stepped in at Alabama, he's been a winner. He's been a winner. And unfortunately, I think sometimes these kids get it into their heads that they are the savior to a program. And if you believe that you're the savior to the program, you're not willing to tell the coach, hey, I don't think it's in my best interest to suit up and play. So what do? You just go out there and you figure, I got to give everything I got to the team because I'm a team player and I'm the leader. So you put yourself at risk. And that's what he did. He put himself at risk to come back so he could help his team win another national championship. So I think if the doctors tell me that this kid is okay, if the doctors tell me that his hip is healed, then you know what? I'm rolling the dice. I'm rolling the dice. And if I have him on my team for the first year, hey, he could sit back and watch how the NFL is different than the NCAA. And he could sit back and learn from the starting quarterback that is there. And I will get him in the game a few games just to let him feel the tempo and the pace of an NFL game. He would be my quarterback. Because if he didn't get hurt, he'd be the number one overall pick. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But everybody is concerned. I think that a lot of this concern is misguided. I think that this kid has shown you he has what it takes to be a winner. It's just that he decided to give up his body for his team. And unfortunately, if he had it all over to do again, he would have probably told Nick Saban, hey, I can't play. And Nick Saban, knowing what he knows, would probably have set the kid and said, you know what? We are going to sit you until you are ready and you can actually be healthy enough to be productive without us worrying about you getting another injury. Listen, this is your boy Mo. I just want to get off of the coronavirus today, get back to a little bit of sports. Listen, if you like what I have to say, hit the subscribe button. Have some comments about what I had to say. Leave me a comment, positive, negative. It's good constructive criticism. I love you guys as always. Be good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better, your better is best, and you are the best person that you can be. Until the next time, this is your boy Mo.